Draft season is now in full swing after the conclusion of the Reese's Senior Bowl last week. So today, let's talk about some potential draft sleepers that GM Adam Peterson and new head coach Dan Quinn should be keeping their eye on, and which guys you should be keeping your eyes on as Commanders fans. Before we get into this list of 10 potential sleepers in this year's NFL draft, in my opinion, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now, because my bosses told me that if we can get 500 new subscribers on the channel this week, then they will send me to the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis here in a couple of weeks to give you guys exclusive Commanders coverage there in Indianapolis. Going to be potentially interviewing Caleb Williams, all the top quarterback prospects as well. So if you're somebody that wants me to get exclusive content for the Washington Commanders at the Combine, we got to add 500 new subscribers this week. So what you waiting for? Click that subscribe button right now. So let's start with Marshawn Kneeland, one of my favorite edge rushers at the Senior Bowl this year in Mobile, Alabama. Currently ranked 96th on Pro Football Focus's big board. And the thing that I like about Marshawn Kneeland's game is that he's somebody that plays with a lot of leverage. He's a little bit on the shorter side, but he's got super long arms. He's got a lot of power. It's really hard for these, especially taller offensive tackles, to really get their hands on Marshawn Kneeland. And I really thought that when it comes to pure pass rush wins, Marshawn Kneeland had the most in practice last week at the Senior Bowl, and then also he won in the most ways. He's got good bend. He can win with counter moves late in the rep. All these different things that he was able to win with, and that versatility is definitely something that I'm really excited about with this kid right here out of Western Michigan. Now 96th overall, that is in the third round. So that's not necessarily a sleeper, but it's definitely a value if, say, he falls to the number 100 overall pick that the Commanders currently hold. Then we get to another edge rusher here, another guy that I'm super excited about, and this guy might be a little bit more of a true sleeper, and it's Muhammad Kamara. Now, this guy reminds me a lot of another former Colorado State player, edge rusher, that ended up being one of the most productive edge rushers of the last 10 to 15 years, and that's Shaq Barrett there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The physical profile is very similar. Muhammad Kamara was absolutely fantastic this last year. If you remember that Colorado State-Colorado game this past year, Kamara absolutely dominated, and he was one of the top edge rushers in all of college football. Now, because he's from Colorado State, people are going to overlook him. Right now, he's the 135th overall prospect on Pro Football Focus's big board. But if you can get him in like the 4th round, 5th round even, I mean, this would be one of the steals of the draft, in my opinion. Muhammad Kamara is one of the most intelligent and one of the most savvy pass rushers in this entire NFL draft. And if you can get him in the mid-rounds, I think this could be a true steal for the Washington Commanders, who, of course, really need edge rusher. Now, let me know down there in the comments section, which position group should Washington prioritize after quarterback? Because I think we all pretty much know at this point that the Commanders are probably going to draft a quarterback at the top of the 2024 NFL draft. But the question now becomes, what do they do with those 2 second-round picks? Do they go after edge rusher at number 36? Do they go after corner? Do they go after center? Let me know which position you want to prioritize at the top of round 2. Then we get to a cornerback here that was super impressive at Mobile there at Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. Number 80th overall on the Pro Football Focus big board after not being ranked on it before the bowl. And that's Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who absolutely dominated the game. He had an interception in that football game. And then also he had a bunch of awesome anticipatory picks during practice as well. So this is somebody that plays with a lot of instincts, is super intelligent, can read receivers' routes incredibly well. This guy's a huge riser right now. And if you could potentially get him, like I said, with that number 100 overall pick in the 3rd round, I think that'd be an excellent value for the Washington Commanders, who, of course, probably need a corner with Kendall Fuller set to hit free agency. Then we get to somebody that I think would be a perfect fit in Dan Quinn's defense, running lots of press man coverage, especially on early downs. Renardo Green, pretty much no other corner in college football last year, played more true press man coverage than Renardo Green from Florida State. And you can make an argument not many played press man better than this young man. He absolutely dominated the Shrine Bowl in Frisco, Texas last week. He was absolutely fantastic. Right now, Pro Football Focus ranks him at number 83, so you might have to get him at the top of the 3rd round. But right now, man, really like what I'm seeing from Renardo Green. I think he's a perfect fit for this Commanders defense coming up with Dan Quinn. Then somebody that I am absolutely in love with. This guy's one of my Sperry psychos this year, man. Malik Washington, the wide receiver out of the University of Virginia. Right now, he is ranked 131st overall by Pro Football Focus. But, man, this guy is yoked up. He's a little bit smaller, but he was a top 5, actually top 3 graded wide receiver in all of college football last year. He's one of the best yak receivers in college football last year. And listen, man, when you have the quicks that this guy has, when you have the long speed, when you have the hands, when you have pretty much everything that you look for in a star wide receiver on Malik Washington's tape, that's something that gets me really excited. And honestly, guys, I don't really care that he's a little bit shorter, all right, that he's a little bit smaller. This guy's a great run blocker because even though he's short, he's got a great strength. You should see him up close, man. This guy is an absolute bulldog, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be like as a pro. This is definitely somebody you guys need to be watching out for. Now, coming up here, some O-line draft sleepers here. I got 5 of them for you. We all know how much the Commanders need offensive line help. Coming up here in the 2024 NFL Draft, I got 5 guys to keep your eye on. Before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. If you want to spice up your game days this NFL season and you want to spice up your Super Bowl viewing experience, you can get started with Prize Picks today, which is a skill-based, real money, daily fantasy sports game. And if you're wondering how that works, here's how you play. You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So let's take a look at my entry here for Super Bowl 58 between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm an optimist, guys, all right? I can't help it. I'm going to take the more on rush yards for Christian McCaffrey, and I like both tight ends in this game to get more on their respective receiving yards. Travis Kelce, George Kittle, I think they're both going to have good games this Sunday in Vegas. Now, you can get your picks in right now by checking out Prize Picks at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now. Make sure you get those picks in for the Super Bowl before they kick things off in Vegas by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. That's code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. So now let's start with Christian Jones, the 132nd overall player on Pro Football Focus's big board. And honestly, guys, I thought Christian Jones probably had the best week maybe overall of all the offensive tackles at the Senior Bowl, particularly when it comes to the one-on-ones with the edge rushers. I thought he really showed some good technique. I think he weighed in really nicely. I think Christian Jones is ticking all the boxes that you look for, and he's gettable in like the 4th or 5th round right now, and I just don't understand why. I mean, I guess he's a little bit older, all these different things, but that experience really showed out in Mobile this week. I thought he might have been the most impressive offensive tackle there at the Senior Bowl last week, and I'm really excited to see where he's going to go. Would be an excellent value option if you can't get a top offensive tackle in rounds 1 or 2. Then you go to Roger Rosengarten here, somebody that's maybe more of a true sleeper. Pro Football Focus ranks him at 241. He's somebody that maybe got overshadowed by Cho Fontenot there on the other side there in that Washington offensive line last year. Of course, Fontenot is expected to go really high in this year's draft, but Rosengarten at the Senior Bowl really showed that, good mirroring ability. Maybe he's not the most physically gifted guy out there, but if you're looking for somebody on day 3 to really be a solid potential swing tackle that you can trust on the field in the National Football League, I think Rosengarten's a good pick. And speaking of tackles, and this guy might be one of my favorite sleepers in the entire class this year, Garrett Greenfield, offensive tackle for South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, all right? And this is somebody that's not even ranked by Pro Football Focus right now, so nobody's talking about him. But this guy had an incredible season last year with the Jackrabbits, pretty much giving up 0 pressures last year. I know it's FCS, right? I know it's a lower school, not playing against good competition, but he's got the long arms you look for. He absolutely dominated against true FBS opponents at the Shrine Bowl in Frisco last week, so he proved that he can go up against these high-level athletes that are long, that are strong, and he didn't allow anything last week. So I love Garrett Greenfield. I think he's going to be a real sleeper in this year's draft class, and I think if you can get him in maybe like the 7th round, that would be one hell of a steal for the Washington Commanders. And then speaking of steals here. I really like Bo Limmer, the interior offensive lineman, a center from the University of Arkansas. And tell me if you've heard this before. Go out and get a center in the third round from Arkansas, okay? That's what the Commanders did last year with Ricky Stromberg. But listen, man, I think Bo Limmer is actually worth that pick. I don't think Stromberg was worth that high of a pick. Bo Limmer was really, really good. He was even holding his own at times against Tavondre Sweat, one of the most powerful defensive tackles in this year's class, one-on-one. Sweat's going to be a guy that is going to be double-teamed on every single play. And Bo Limmer, one-on-one, yeah, he got put on a poster a couple of times in practice last week, but he really held his own. This guy's a competitor, and if you don't get your hands on one of the top centers in the early rounds, Bo Limmer in the third or fourth round would be an excellent value for the Washington Commanders. And the last guy on my list, kind of an ironic name here, Dominic Puny, I think is how you say that. And, having a last name Puny when you're over 300 pounds and you're an interior offensive lineman about to enter the National Football League is kind of funny. Right now, Pro Football Focus ranks him at 68th overall on their big board. So maybe not like a true sleeper, but he's definitely somebody that's been a riser after Senior Bowl week, somebody that really had a good week of practice. He really held his own. He's listed as a tackle right now, but I really think he's got the physical profile of a really good starting guard in the National Football League. And if the Commanders want to keep Andrew Wiley on the outside and they're looking to add a guard in the draft, Dominic Puny is definitely somebody to keep your eye on. So let me know who your guy is down there in the comment section, who's an NFL draft prospect in this year's class that's getting slept on right now, and you want to give them a platform. Let me know down there in the comment section which guy you think is a sleeper in this year's NFL draft. That'll be it for today's list, guys, but make sure you click that subscribe button because if you enjoyed today's content, we're going to have another Commanders mock draft tomorrow. We got in-depth prospect analysis pretty much every single day, breaking down the top prospects for the Commanders to go target this year. And then, we got the latest Commanders draft news and rumors. We're going to be letting you know which guys they bring in for visits, which guys that they're interviewing. And hey, if you guys click that subscribe button right now, who knows, I might be sent to the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. So help make that happen right now by clicking that subscribe button. And until next time, hail to the Commanders.